So we've been looking at cat blood and human blood, trying to see what the differences are at different magnifications. Today we have to look at some information. We could look at pictures all day, we could look through microscopes all day, and we're just never going to find out what the blood does. So we have to look at some information that other scientists have found out for us. So today we're going to look at about a page and a half of reading. This is page 15 and 16 in your folder. So if you want to turn to that and grab a highlighter. If you don't have a highlighter, you can just use a pencil to underline. So we're just going to do some highlighting of the text to find out what blood is, what it is, according to the title here, what it does, what it looks like if you look at microscopically. So let's get into it. So we start off with reading. What is blood? It's red and a little thicker than water. Blood is a fluid that has several vital functions for any animal whose body contains it. The heart pumps blood through blood vessels that are found all over the body. As blood travels through these vessels, it brings all the different parts of the body what they need, such as oxygen, water and nutrients, food particles, vitamins, and electrolytes. Blood also helps the body to support and respond to illness and injury. So what do we want to highlight? We're going to highlight that blood is a vital fluid that has several vital functions for any animal. It's necessary for life. We could also highlight that the heart pumps blood through blood vessels. Its job, its function is to bring all the different parts of the body what they need, which would include oxygen, water, and nutrients. And blood also helps the body to support and respond to illness and injury, which is perfect because we're figuring about how the body heals. Our next paragraph is blood is a mixture of blood cells, water, food particles, vitamins, and electrolytes. And those are different types of salts that the body needs. In humans, blood cells make up about 45% of the volume of blood. The other 55% is blood plasma. The blood plasma itself is a yellowish liquid that is about 92% water. About 7% of blood plasma is food particles. Vitamins and electrolytes make up the other 1% of blood plasma. One of the most important jobs of the blood plasma is to transport nutrients to various parts of the body. Blood plasma also carries waste products away from parts of the body. Okay, so we're going to look at the text here and we're going to look at this diagram too. So we want to highlight that blood is a mixture of these things here. That blood cells make up about 45% of the volume of blood. The other 55% is blood plasma. So if you look at this right here, about 45% from here to here is the plasma, and then from here down, a little more than half is the red blood cells. The blood plasma itself is a yellowish liquid that is about 92% water. So we will do that. So blood plasma, yellowish, and 92% water. We'll highlight 7% of blood plasma is food particles. We'll highlight that the vitamins and electrolytes make up the other 1%. And the job of the blood plasma is to transport nutrients to various parts of the body. And also that blood plasma carries waste products away from parts of the body. I have to move up the page a little bit. So continuing on, when blood is drawn from a body, all its parts are mixed together. However, after it sits still for a while, the less dense blood plasma rises to the top and the denser blood cells settle toward the bottom. So we can say all its parts are mixed and less dense blood plasma rises to the top and the more dense goes to the bottom. The last paragraph on this page. There are three main components found in the denser part of the blood that each serve different functions: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Most of the blood cells are red blood cells. Red blood cells have a round, flat, flexible shape with a dent in the middle on each side. They carry oxygen from the lungs throughout the body and they can bend to fit in the smallest blood vessels. The blood also contains white blood cells, which aid in responding to diseases and infections. White blood cells generally have a sphere-like shape and are often, but not always, larger than red blood cells. The stain used on most slide preparations of blood makes the insides of white blood cells appear dark purple. Okay, so let's highlight three main components: our red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. We can highlight that most of the blood cells are red blood cells. We can talk about their structure. So red blood cells have a round, flat, flexible shape with a dent in the middle on each side. Their function is to carry oxygen from the lungs throughout the body. And another structure is that they can bend to fit in the smallest blood vessels. We go to the second one, white blood cells. So white blood cells aid in responding to disease and infection. Their structure is that they have a sphere-like shape and sometimes are larger than red blood cells. If you remember looking at the pictures of the human and cat blood, the ones that had the dark purple, those were the white blood cells. When they stain these blood stains, not the blood stain, but when they stain these slides, the white blood cells actually turn dark purple on the inside. So that's what we're seeing there. From here, we're going to page 16. Is just a half page here. So it says, finally, the job of the platelets is to help the blood clot, to help it form a plug when a blood vessel has been broken, open, or injured. Platelets stretch out tentacle-like arms and stick together on and around a damaged area. This helps prevent the blood from leaking out. When blood forms a clot on the surface of wounded skin and dries out to cover and protect the wound, it's called a scab. By volume, red blood cells make up much more of the blood than white blood cells or platelets. Altogether, white blood cells and platelets make up only about 1% of the blood's volume. Let's go back. So the job of the platelets, its function is to help the blood clot. To do that, it forms a plug when a blood vessel has been popped open. Its structure is that it has tentacle-like arms and they stick together around the damaged area. We also want to do when blood forms a clot on the surface of the wounded skin and it dries out, that's called a scab. And that's about it for that one. Last paragraph. In the body, through the blood vessels, blood cells move around freely in the blood plasma. The food particles and other components of the plasma, which are too small to see, even with a microscope, also move freely around the body through the blood vessels. We didn't highlight anything there. What you want to do now is go on to page 17. We have just a couple quick questions to fill in here. So the top part was just directions on how to do the reading. So we're going to number 2. And we just want to label this diagram. So this is kind of like showing the vial of blood that they would have taken from somebody. The top part is our plasma. So you can fill that in there. The bottom part was our red blood cells. In the middle, that small amount was white blood cells and also platelets. As they said, most of it was red blood cells and then just a little bit was white blood cells and platelets. And then the other part was the plasma. In the plasma, about 92% is water. And I'm just getting this information from the reading we did. About 7% is food particles. And finally, the 1% was, I'm looking this up, 1% was vitamins and electrolytes. So that finishes off this diagram. Turn to page 18. And we're just going to do question 3 here. We're just going to label this diagram. So this is kind of like a black and white diagram of the blood on a slide. So we know that this dark purple one, based on our reading, and I'm actually going to use a different marker here, I think, just so it shows up better. Actually, I'll highlight it. So we'll do that one there. So that one is a white blood cell. Any of these other ones are the red blood cells. These tiny little dark ones, a little tiny one there, there's one here, one there, one there, one here, and one here. Those are the platelets. And then finally, all this white stuff that looks like it's just the background, that's our plasma. Okay, so just label that diagram, and that finishes today's lesson.